Here's what nobody tells you about visiting Banff in December. It's not usually until mid-December when the mountains finally deliver on that winter wonderland. We hope by then the ski resorts are operating with most runs open, lakes frozen solid enough for skating, and enough snow that the entire landscape looks like it belongs on a Christmas card. And the best part? The town is decked out in twinkling lights and holiday magic while summer crowds are long gone. If you're planning a trip to Banff in December, this episode is for you. Welcome to the Banff Travel Podcast. I'm your host, Celine Brewer, a Canmore local and Banff travel planning expert. I'm here to help you have the best trip to the Canadian Rockies. Now let's talk about why December is so special in Banff. Remember how I talked about November being shoulder season in episode 29? Well, December is the complete opposite. By mid-December, Banff has typically received enough snow that you can finally enjoy the full range of winter activities. We're talking downhill skiing, dog sledding, tubing, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, ice skating on cleared rinks, fat biking, and so much more. Keep in mind that if the town of Banff doesn't have much for snow, you can usually still find it by traveling to Lake Louise. Now, what really makes December special is the combination of hopefully more reliable snow conditions. I say hopefully because the past few years we haven't had much snow, but that combination of snow and all the Christmas magic happening around town. The town of Banff is absolutely decked out in Christmas lights and decorations. Walking down Banff Ave in December with snow gently falling and lights twinkling everywhere, it genuinely feels like you're inside a snow globe. And let's talk about the ski resorts. All three of the big three ski resorts in Banff National Park are fully operational by December. We're talking Sunshine Village, Lake Louise Ski Resort, and Mount Norquay. Plus, you've got nearby options like Nikiska in Kananaskis, Kicking Horse in Golden, and Panorama in Invermere if you want to explore beyond the park boundaries. As you all know, I live just outside of Banff, and I can tell you that December has a special energy. Summer tourists have gone home, but there's this excited buzz from skiers, snowboarders, and winter enthusiasts who've been waiting all year for this. It's a completely different vibe from summer, and I absolutely love it. I love winter. I love being out in winter. I get excited to be hiking in snow-covered trees. Okay, let's get real about December weather, because you need to know what you're getting into. This is the Canadian Rockies. Weather and road conditions can change quickly and you need to be prepared. The actual temperatures can vary wildly. Some days, if we get a Chinook wind blowing through, temperatures can jump well above zero. It'll feel almost balmy, but other days it can be bone-chilling cold. And here's something crucial that the recorded temperature doesn't tell you. It's wind chill, and wind chill is real. A temperature of minus 5 degrees Celsius might feel almost pleasant if you're standing in direct sunlight with no wind. But add a 40 kilometer per hour wind gust and that same minus 5 degrees suddenly feels like it's minus 14. It's a massive difference. Then, of course, there's the shade factor. I was just up at the Banff Gondola earlier this week. We hiked up the trail because the gondola wasn't running. It was warm and lovely in the trees. There was no wind. And of course, we were hiking. But as soon as we got to the top, that sun went behind the clouds. Plus the added wind, it had me grabbing my extra layers pretty quickly. So it can feel so nice and warm out in the full sun, but the moment you lose that sun, you're going to feel it. Hey, Banff Travel Podcast listeners. I'm going to take a quick break from the episode to share something that might really help with your Banff trip planning. If you're excited about your Banff trip but not totally sure you're planning it right, let me help. I offer one-on-one Banff travel consultations where we spend an hour going through your exact dates, your wish list, and your questions. You'll leave with a personalized plan that covers what is actually open for your dates, flexible day-by-day options, and my local tips on everything from weather to roads to what gear you really need. For Black Friday, those consultations are $99. That's 20% off, and I only do this deal once a year. If you think it's too early for your planning, you don't need to book the call before the sale ends. You can lock in the discount now and schedule our call in the new year, whenever it works for you. My calendar is always up to date. Now, I only have 25 spots available at this price, and the deal ends on November 30th. So head to travelbanffcanada.com/sale to lock this in. All right, let's get back to the episode. So what should you pack for December? Given the unpredictability of the weather and the temperatures, you will want to think about bringing some actual winter gear. Insulated winter boots with good traction are absolutely essential. You'll definitely want something that's waterproof with some grip. I also highly recommend bringing or renting micro spikes for icy trails. These slip over your boots and they have small spikes on the bottom that give you incredible traction on ice. You can easily rent them in Banff or Canmore if you don't own a pair, so don't worry about that. For clothing, again, you've heard me say this, you need to layer properly, starting with a good base layer that wicks that moisture away from your skin, then your insulating mid-layer like a fleece or your down jacket, and then top it off with waterproof or windproof shell jacket. Of course, you don't want to forget those winter accessories, right? A warm toque, your winter hat for you non-Canadians, insulated gloves, warm wool socks, and of course sunglasses, because that sun reflecting off the snow can be absolutely blinding on a clear day. And if you're driving, especially anywhere without cell service, looking at you, Icefields Parkway, you want to pack an emergency car kit with blankets, extra food, water, flashlight, and ice scraper, all of those winter essentials. The December mountain weather can change incredibly fast, and you want to be prepared. As for driving, you really should consider if you are comfortable driving in winter conditions, and this applies throughout winter. A heavy snowfall and icy roads can become extremely dangerous. Of course, there's no predicting what kind of weather we'll have when you're here. It might be clear and dry on the roads, or you could run into a winter storm. You can actually request proper winter tires from your car rental agency. These will often come at an extra daily cost. At a minimum, you're going to need the tires with the M+S symbol on them, mud plus snow, to drive into British Columbia, so into Yoho National Park to see Emerald Lake, or up the Icefields Parkway. All right, now for the exciting part. What can you actually do in Banff in December? Let's start with Lake Louise. Close your eyes for a second and imagine the most beautiful winter scene you can picture. Lake Louise looks even better than that. The lake frozen over, the Victoria Glacier draped in snow, it's absolutely stunning. If it gets cold enough, the lake could be frozen enough for skating, but again, that may not happen until mid-December. At Lake Louise, you can skate on a large cleared public skating surface right in front of the chateau. Skating on Lake Louise is honestly one of those bucket list experiences, so it's probably going to be busy, so maybe plan around that, go a little earlier or a little later, and don't forget to bundle up. If you're looking for a short hike at Lake Louise, the Fairview Lookout Trail is fantastic. I like it any time of year. It's only about 2 kilometers, and you're rewarded with an incredible viewpoint where you look back over the frozen lake towards the chateau. The views are absolutely gorgeous, and it's not too challenging. The trail is most likely to be packed down, so you won't need snowshoes, but micro spikes are going to be a must. Now, just another side note here that's super important to know. Not all summer hikes make good winter hikes. You may not know that the hike to Lake Agnes crosses through avalanche terrain, and it's not recommended in winter unless you have the tools and knowledge to venture into avalanche terrain. I really wish that people would take this more seriously and do their research before they go on some of these hikes. Every year, I see people posting about these dangerous hikes that they've done without any knowledge that they've ventured into avalanche terrain. I highly recommend sticking to hikes recommended by Parks Canada if you're unsure, and always checking trail reports before heading out. Remember that you and you alone are responsible for your own safety. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's head back to our list of things to do in December. Now, if you want to make your Lake Louise experience a little more special, you could even book a horse-drawn sleigh ride. It's one of those romantic, memorable experiences that's perfect for couples or families as you glide gently across the snow, soaking in the scenery. You can also do sleigh rides in the town of Banff. Speaking of being back in the Banff town site, winter hiking is still excellent in December. Some of my favorite winter trails include Tunnel Mountain, which gives you incredible views over the Bow Valley. Johnston Canyon is spectacular with those frozen waterfalls. The walk to the lower falls is easily manageable, as is to the upper falls, but it is going to get icy, especially with the traffic that happens there. So microspikes, again, are a must. Along the Lake Minnewanka scenic loop, both Johnson Lake and the Lake Minnewanka shoreline are beautiful winter walks. Of course, I'll include my favorite winter hikes in the show notes. For cross-country skiing, Lake Louise area will probably be your best bet for consistent snow. But with any luck, the Lake Minnewanka area near Banff will be good too. And if you head out to Kananaskis country, you'll find tons of options for trails for all experience levels. Kananaskis, like Lake Louise, is typically more reliable for snow. I also want to mention wild ice skating, which is one of my favorite free activities in Banff. Early each winter, there's often a window when lakes freeze over with crystal clear ice before they get covered in snow. Popular spots would include Vermilion Lakes, Johnson Lake, and sometimes Lake Minnewanka, but rarely that happens until into January. But please, again, be safe about this. Parks Canada says ice needs to be at least 15 centimeters thick for walking or ice skating alone, 20 centimeters for groups. And don't just assume it's safe because you see other people out there. You have to make your own informed decision and be able to measure that ice thickness. The Canadian Red Cross has an excellent safety resource for this, which I'll link to in the show notes. But it's super important that you know that Parks Canada does not check the ice thickness. You are responsible for your own safety. Now let's talk about Christmas activities because this is where December in Banff really shines. One of my favorite events is the In Search of Christmas Spirit at Cascade of Time Gardens. This is a walking experience at night where you carry a lantern through the gardens and experience a live Christmas story told through its wildlife sculptures. It's peaceful, it's magical, and it's free, though you do need to book a time slot. The Mountaintop Christmas at the Banff Gondola is another highlight. They run this on weekends starting mid-November, then daily from December 22nd to the 31st. The kids can visit with Santa, decorate cookies. You can enjoy hot chocolate while taking in those incredible summit views. The Banff Christmas Market happens over 4 weekends from late November till about mid-December at the Banff train station. It's the perfect place to find some unique gifts, but you do need to get those tickets in advance as well. And a must on a cold winter day is a hot chocolate. A really fun thing that happens around the town of Banff is the Hot Chocolate Trail, where over 30 participating cafes and restaurants create special limited time hot chocolate creations with holiday themes. It's such a fun way to warm up after those outdoor adventures while exploring the different areas around town. If you're staying at or even just visiting the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel, their Christmas decorations are absolutely incredible. They seriously go all out. Walking through the hotel with a hot chocolate in hand, taking in all the decorations and the cozy fires, it's the epitome of Christmas in the mountains. They even have performances of a Christmas carol throughout December, and it's really so well done. I highly recommend it. And for those of you who are lucky enough to actually spend Christmas Day in Banff, all 3 ski resorts are open, which is actually a great time to go skiing. It's always less busy because most people are celebrating with their families. Or you can enjoy that Christmas Day brunch followed by activities like skating and snowshoeing or a sleigh ride. For Christmas dinner, several restaurants in Banff serve special Christmas dinners. All right, it's time for a few tips to help you make the most of your December visit. First, let's review that winter driving again. By December, you need to be prepared for winter road conditions. If you're planning to drive the Icefields Parkway between Lake Louise and Jasper, you need tires with either that M+S, so mud plus snow, symbol or the snowflake symbol. This requirement starts November 1st and runs through April 1st. And if you're visiting Yoho or Kootenay National Parks in British Columbia, so places like Emerald Lake or Marble Canyon, BC's winter tire requirements start even earlier on October 1st. Of course, you always want to check road conditions before heading out and build some flexibility into your schedule. I can't stress this enough. Mountain weather can change fast in December. That beautiful sunny morning can turn into a snowstorm by the afternoon. Of course, you're going to need a park pass. You can pick one up at the Banff Park gates when you drive through. Now, my understanding is that it's actually going to be free to visit the national parks from December 12th to January 15th, but I haven't seen any further details. So if you're coming after December 12th, just look for those details. And of course, if you're exploring areas around Canmore and Kananaskis, you still need that Kananaskis Conservation Pass. This is the perfect time to embrace flexibility. Weather can change your plans pretty quickly, so having indoor backup options are a good idea. And honestly, ducking into a cozy cafe with a good book and some mountain views is a perfectly acceptable plan B. Now that we're into winter, you can start your days later if you're not chasing those sunrise photos. And actually, those are much easier to get because sunrise is much later. Those December daylight hours are short, and you know what, to be honest, the mornings are cold. There's no need to force yourself out at dawn unless you're specifically after that sunrise picture. Let the sun warm things up a bit first. Of course, you want to book popular experiences early so you don't miss out, especially for things like dog sledding. You always want to check trail conditions before heading out. Avalanche Canada's website always has current conditions and forecasts. Parks Canada posts trail reports and closures. Road conditions are posted by Alberta 511. So you just want to make it a habit to check the weather forecast and some of those resources before heading out for the day. If you're worried about finding good snow conditions early in December, head to Lake Louise or into Kananaskis country. The Kananaskis Lakes area and around Chester Lake almost always have some reliable snow, even when the towns of Banff or Canmore are still pretty bare. When you're packing what you need for the day, don't underestimate how much warmth the sun provides. On clear days, it can feel quite pleasant in the sun, even when it's technically well below freezing. But the moment you lose that sun, whether from the clouds or when you're in the forest, you'll immediately feel the cold. So always pack some extra layers. As always, I have a full guide to winter and Christmas in Banff, which I'll link to in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening to the Banff Travel Podcast. December in Banff really is something special. Yes, it can be cold, and yes, you need to pack properly and be prepared for winter conditions, but the combination of Christmas throughout town and those iconic Rocky Mountain views creates an experience you simply can't get any other time of year. If you have questions about visiting Banff in December or you want to share your own December experiences, head to banfftravelplanning.com/podcast and send them my way. I love hearing from you. Until next time, bundle up in those layers, embrace the winter magic, and I'll see you out on the trails.